We've got near-term cash flow from the US and a development project in Tanzania. I think collectively, this gives us an extremely strong or sound basis upon which we can continue to drive the company forward.
Hello, you're watching Proactive. Joining me today is Lorna Blaisse, the CEO of Helium One Global. Lorna, very good to speak with you. What does this competent persons report mean for the mining license?
Yeah, morning, Stephen. It means very much that we as a company are on track in terms of our understanding of this unique, unconventional play that we have in Southern Rukwa. It's important to note that Sprawl ERCE are leading international reserves auditors, and they've actually been working on this for us for a while now. And it's probably fair to say that it's been quite a learning process for us all. We must remember that this is the first of its kind anywhere in the world, due to the fact that we have helium in solution rather than free gas. And it was very important to us as a company to get it right. So this is a great starting point for us. We're now in a position that we will need to undertake further work, and that further work and next activities will include appraisal, further feed studies, and ultimately the all-important FID. So there is still a lot of information to be obtained in this process, which will affect the final design of the early production system and also the central processing facility. We've also, probably worth noting, recently commissioned a hydrogeological study, given the nature of this unique play, which we hope will ultimately further enhance our understanding of this play. However, everything we do now is certainly moving us forward to that all-important development.
Looking at the CPR, how is it different to previous CPRs the company's done?
That's a very good question, and I think this is a clear distinction to be made. In short, it's completely different. I think it's time to sort of draw a line in the sand and focus on the discovery that we have and the play type that we're looking at in this basin, and how we move that forward. Notwithstanding, additional further learnings, we've also learned enough from the drilling of Itumbula West 1 and the subsequent extended well test that we better understand the proven play here more than we ever have. It is a solution play. This is a concept that wasn't even considered in those previous CPRs, as they were focusing very much on conventional dry gas plays with a conventional trap, conventional seal, conventional containment, etc. In addition, those previous CPRs did not have any well test data associated with them, and subsequently were prospective resource numbers only. They were unproven and only estimated quantities, which are potentially recoverable from undiscovered accumulations that fell within prospective licenses. And I think that's a key statement to make. The key word there in those scenarios being undiscovered. And so what we have now in this new CPR, relevant to the mining license, is what we refer to as contingent resources. And this is a significant step up from where we were previously. The definition of those is that they are proven known accumulations, and in this case are associated with that all-important recently offered mining license, which enables us to move the project forward into the development phase. I think also it's important to note that in addition to those contingent resources across the Itumbula discovery area, Sprawl ERCE also calculated additional prospectivity in the remainder of that full 480 square kilometers, which is a sizable area, the largest of its kind in Tanzania. And so, those combined numbers bring us an upside case of 4.5 BCF of helium within the ML area, which is a lot.
I wanted to ask you that, Lorna. How do the resources compare to the company's internal estimates?
Yeah, another great question. And I'm sure, a lot of our existing shareholders are asking the same. I think it's fair to say that in short, they are broadly in line, which is very positive for us. We were, very, very pleased that the assumptions that we have made in the modeling and that we have undertaken as per the feasibility study and subsequently the ML application that went to the government has certainly been validated by this CPR. As with any independent audit, there's always going to be some variances in the interpretation and the application, especially in this case where we're dealing with such a new play concept. And that's partly why we did select, the likes of Sprawl ERC in our choice of reserve auditors. But it's important to state, the variances we do see are not material. They very much provide us with that basis for moving forward. And certainly with further appraisal work, we're confident that we can probably get these numbers moved up the PRMS resource classification ladder, and ultimately they will become bookable as reserves.
Lorna, how will this shape the next steps of the project?
So, like every project, as much as we'd like to go full speed into development straight away, we have to be mindful of the important steps and the appropriate steps in the sequence we do them. And I think as a company, we've certainly demonstrated that over the past 12 months. It remains a phased development, as previously mentioned. But we now need to certainly start looking at the end result. We need to increase or up our engagement with potential off-takers here, as that will ultimately underpin all of the necessary financing options that we have available for that all-important fulfilled development. And this CPR will certainly aid those conversations going forward.
Lorna, could you give us an update on how your US project is progressing?
Absolutely. Would love to. Pleased to say that this is progressing very well. Our current shareholders will be aware, following the recent announcement, that we've just concluded on a successful 6-well development drilling campaign in Colorado on the Galactica project. And together with Blue Star as operator, we're now working up the plans for the installation of the helium processing plant, as well as the commissioning of the CO2 facility. It's a combined helium CO2 project, and we look forward to certainly bringing it on stream towards the end of this year. We've also been busy in assessing the results of the flow test data. But fortunately, everything has come in as we had expected, which is always great news. And we're very much currently very much moving towards first gas at the end of this year, and currently running some cash flow models internally that look very encouraging.
Well, so that's certainly been a busy 6 months for the company, Lorna. What's the future looking like?
It certainly has. I look back to over the past 12 months, and this time last year, we were getting ready for the start of the extended well test at Itumbula, which we knew we had to undertake post the discovery earlier in the year. And in order to meet the deadline on the mining license filing application, we knew that we also, in addition to the extended well test, had to compile that very comprehensive feasibility study as part of that application. And then in parallel to that, we were also pursuing a number of diversification opportunities outside of Tanzania, and obviously subsequently farmed into the Blue Star Galactica project at 50%. And that drilling campaign started earlier this year. So, a busy 12 months. We feel that it's very much given us a balanced portfolio across 2 separate assets. We've got near-term cash flow from the US and a development project in Tanzania. I think collectively, this gives us an extremely strong or sound basis upon which we can continue to drive the company forward. Certainly remaining opportunistic and very much look forward to continuing the momentum that we have.
Lorna, I hope you'll continue to keep us updated with your progress. Thank you very much for taking the time today.
Thanks, Stephen. Will do.
Lorna Blaisse, the CEO of Helium One Global.